Mario vs Sonic is one of the biggest rivalries in the community, two of the most iconic video game series and protagonists of all time. And naturally they have been on Death Battle quite a bit, so today I'm going to go over every Mario and Sonic Death Battle we've had that I haven't talked about already. Which ones have I already talked about? Well, Zelda vs Peach and Bowser vs Ganon were reviewed in my review of every Legend of Zelda Death Battle. Yoshi vs Riptor was in my fighting game Death Battles retrospective, and Sonic vs Flash was in my Season 7 retrospective. And my opinion on it has not changed. I still think it's solid, but not perfect. This isn't going to stop you from commenting where Bowser vs Ganon is anyway, and talking about why it's so shit here instead of on the video where I actually discussed it. Let's go already with...
How's that, plumber?
Look, I'm gonna be totally honest with you. I forgot you're here.
Mario vs Sonic 1 is an old episode, but one that I still really enjoy. The analysis isn't anything special, and the animation looks pretty crappy at a standstill, research is underwhelming, the claim of power-ups being equal isn't justified, and the voice acting for Sonic by Caden Redpearl isn't that great, with 2 good line reads and the rest being pretty flat. But I enjoyed it. The analysis is carried by the classic Season 1 charm that makes most of the good episodes in the season so fun to watch. And while the animation is not the most visually appealing thing with the pretty blurry assets overall, I do think it really holds up. Kind of. The start of the fight is very solid, with some good action that sells Sonic's speed, and the rest of it focuses on having their power-ups bounce off each other in fun ways. However, right at the start, there's a huge dumping on the pacing as they go from fast action to this weird montage that feels like it should have gone in the middle of the animation. It feels like there's a whole chunk of this fight that was taken out, and it's quite bothersome. Aside from that, it's good stuff. Sonic's supersonic transformation is really cool by Season 1 standards. Mario having to spam 3 separate overpowered power-ups as a stalemate supersonic is nice, and Sonic's speed is conveyed really well when he runs to the volcano in the background of this scene. And I think the death is decent. It's pretty nasty for Season 1 standards as well. Though initially, like a lot of people, I didn't know Mario was shrinking here, as it's animated in a way where it looks like it's just zooming out because there's no frame of reference around. Aside from that, there really isn't a lot to talk about. It's a deeply flawed episode with several big issues and several big positives. Honestly, I think this episode used so many power-ups though that it's commendable in a sense. It really feels like even though you know they have more, they threw out everything they had to take each other down. I like that, I like this. A low 7 out of 10. Oh, and Mario's analysis has some jokes that fucking suck, man.
So, then the winner is,
Ryuko Matoi!
Eggman VS Wily was Ben Singer's animation swan song, but how was it beyond that? That's probably the clunkiest way I've ever said, let's look at the analysis. It's fine, I like some of the jokes, talking about the armors is fun, I wish we got more of that in the future, also quite like me some Napalm Man hype. Animation though is where the episode shines. The animation is really fun, our only army battle as of writing this review, and one that's absolutely great. The battle begins simply, the basic infantry of the two. It shows off Wily's superior firepower and tactics with his forces managing to outsmart and overpower Eggman's, followed by Eggman using his more advanced robotics and managing to take out some of Wily's infantry. I do like the little touch of those two Mets surviving by putting their helmets down in time as well. Wily sends out the Royal Masters and we get the fight people actually wanted to see, without having to avoid the infantry battle at all. And yeah, the fight's pretty great here. You got a cavalcade of small scenes of individual matchups between robots and some teamwork every now and again. It's really fun, as there's some bits that you would not have done nowadays, like the bit with Scratch and Grounder. And after a bit of that fighting, we get Metal Sonic and Bass's introductions, where Bass almost quotes Tai Lung. You were this close to perfection, man. The Yellow Devil shows up and we actually get some teamwork almost, with Bass in the thing where, you know, he goes and saves him from Eggman, so on. After that, we actually get the two doctors themselves fighting it out too, which is extremely brief, but cool. Even if Eggman had to use his rarely seen ability to materialize giant mech suits out of thin air like he learned the same magical abilities as Batman. We get a fun little fake out with Wily that allowed the usage of more than one Wily mech, and the dummy, along with a fun little bit where Metal Sonic kills Metal Man with his own metal blades, which you have to think is a fun nod to all the jokes about how he's weak to his own weapon. Unfortunately, the ending does falter in one place, the entire ending. Having Metal Sonic go crazy and kill everyone due to Roboenza isn't terrible in concept, but the problem is that the conclusion doesn't posit this as how they think the ending would most likely go down. It makes it feel more like a cop-out. If they had explained how Wily and Eggman were evenly matched, but Metal Sonic dominates, however, more often than not Wily would attempt to use Roboenza, resulting in a rogue Metal Sonic winning, that would be fine to me. I'd actually think that would be a really interesting conclusion to talk about. Instead they just go, well, Metal Sonic won! Oh yeah, he did! Which kinda sucks. But aside from that, I really like this episode. It has a ton of that Season 1 charm, and it's just overall bloody solid. A high 7 out of 10. I would give it an 8 if it wasn't so, shitty at the end. Also, Magnet Man is a fucking boss. He shows up to take out 2 guys, neither of which are pushovers, and then avoids getting nuked by Metal Sonic.
Scratch that, he's afraid of all ghosts, bugs, water,
Vor.
You know, I'm fine with them wanting to give Luigi and Tails only their exclusive gear, but given how no explanation was actually given as to how the standard power-ups counter each other in the first Mario vs Sonic, I don't particularly think this is a great sign of what's to come. Though truth be told, I don't actively dislike the analysis that much. It has some groan-worthy jokes, but it's overall fine. I especially like some parts of Tails, including the joke about names. It's nothing special, but it's not half bad, and I had a good time with it. The fight, however, is... It starts by Tails landing in a field of pipes and looking up as if there's anything going on in the sky, and then Luigi sticks his head out and hits Tails in the ass. Classy. Overall, this fight is fine in places, but it suffers the same problems I have with Carnage vs Lucy, except at least here Luigi gets some meaningful hits in. No, I will never like that episode. Arguing it's okay for Carnage to get stomped so spitefully will never convince me. Yes, Carnage could get away with hitting her because the researchers are more than capable of arguing Lucy could survive hits and also deal with his mind corruption. Basically, all of that episode's problems can be applied to this one too. I don't want to argue about that today. Luigi's meaningful hits include an uppercut that doesn't actually hurt Tails, a bonk with a hammer that doesn't actually hurt Tails, and some lightning attacks that actually do wind him. So I guess he got one meaningful hit in as opposed to Carnage's 0. That is not actually much of an improvement. Tails, meanwhile, knocks Luigi on his ass several times and matches him basically all the way through. Even when Luigi busts out the negative zone in a big moment, it does nothing for him at all, as Tails is just fine. Anyway, what are the good moments in the fights? The places where it's fine. Tails and Luigi's spinning battle is fun. The battle as they're falling through the air is okay. And the whole bit where Luigi tries to outsmart Tails by throwing his bombs back at him with the poltergust only for them to fall back on him, leading to him falling into a pipe and then schooling Tails with the Thunder Hand is actually a really cool trading of weaponry there. I like that. And you know, while that last one is good in any context, the first two are only really good outside of it, because otherwise, Luigi just looks like a total fucking whip bitch in this fight. If we really look at what happens in this fight, it just amounts to Luigi tries something and then gets his ass kicked the whole time, beating around like a punching bag until an anticlimactic death. Sound familiar? But this episode actually manages to one-up Carnage vs Lucy in the crap factor, because while that episode had one sequence I can point to as especially good and genuinely amazing at setting up atmosphere and tone, Luigi vs Tails has one sequence I can point out as especially fucking awful and bad in every conceivable way. Tails picks up Luigi and flies him into the sky, right? Fine. But then what happens is he just holds Luigi and does nothing. What was his plan? Who knows? He's just there flying, holding onto him, and now he's doing the tired pose, meaning he's no longer flying, and they specifically bring up that he can't fly forever. He's no longer spinning his tail, but now he is still flying. Here he is. There he is. No longer spinning his tail, flying upwards. Luigi uses his vanish flower so he becomes invisible. He should also become intangible, right? Right? That's what they said, but no, he's still there. He's still held by Tails. And we know he's being held because Luigi can't fly. And no, you can't say Tails is planning to fly up and drop him, because clearly he's still holding on to Luigi even after Luigi has become intangible, and he's not really ascending that much. He also only notices a good few seconds after Luigi uses the flower that's happened. Why? Luigi then pulls out the hammer and Tails doesn't react for a full 2 seconds until right before Luigi swings it. And that somehow is what makes Tails actually do something? What was this entire sequence? A mistake? Yeah, a mistake, that sounds about right. This is like the lamest way to include the vanish flower. Oh, and back to that anticlimactic death thing. Yeah, after Tails' explosive goes off and sends them both flying, an unharmed Tails comes in and one-shots Luigi. And just like the aforementioned episode, the winner comes off as completely unaffected the entire time, having barely been hit and looking like they didn't even try once because fuck the loser. Carnage and Luigi? Fuck you apparently, except this is worse, because I actually really like Luigi, while Carnage is just a boring character. I actually really like Luigi. Fuck. But Luigi vs Tails is significantly worse, don't get me wrong, I'm just highlighting some annoying similarities I see here. But any of the upsides that Carnage vs Lucy has don't exist to balance anything out. There's no good voice acting, there's no neat hand-drawn bits, there's no amazing custom track, it's just got so little going on that beyond one sequence, it's just bad. It's a bad episode, a very low 3 out of 10, saved from a 2 by having an analysis that's kind of fun. And also I find the radish thing so ironically funny.
Knuckles and DK may have punched moons, but both feats are not precisely what they seem. Knuckles did not actually lift the whole 60+ ton tree off the ground.
You know, I'm fine with them wanting to give Knuckles and Donkey Kong only their exclusive gear, but given how no explanation was actually given as to how the standard power-ups counter each other in the first Mario vs Sonic, I don't particularly think this is a great sign of what's to come. Oh, hold on. They do bring up one example where they cancel out. Wonder if that means this episode's a big step up, and I'm genuinely glad. We have a great analysis here. I just find Donkey Kong and Knuckles' analyses so fun. I like the jokes basically across the whole thing. Yes, even the one about a kid in the dicks, because it's fucking surreal how much Boomstick finds that cool. It's just a great analysis. And also, DK rap. They use the DK rap and some of Knuckles rap as like the backing music at points, and that is so funny to me. And referencing the Donkey Kong Country, just like the cartoon, oh, I love it. I love the fact that Boomstick's brain just blocked out the songs. Oh, and I like the fight. It's just fun, and it has a lot of problems, but they're minor to me. Like Donkey Kong's sprites are kinda shit, with the color palette being really weird and oddly flat at points, and having those weird spikes on his body, not to mention Planet's Eyes having a noticeable ring around his stomach, as if he's meant to be having some kind of belt on, but this was literally the only option they had, because they couldn't make their own sprites at this point in the series. And Donkey Kong didn't have any other options. Aside from that, I did get a little tired of the oh no jokes by the end. But overall, it's just fun. The very first scene manages to convey how brain dead these two are perfectly, with Knuckles just not reading the sign and eating a banana without peeling it, and Donkey Kong getting so pissed off about Knuckles eating a banana from his hoard that he inadvertently destroys his own hoard by sending the bananas everywhere. And the whole fight is dripping with that sort of charm. Donkey Kong not really having any strategies and focusing entirely on brute force and instinct, aside from one moment where Coconut gives him the idea to use his coconut gun, and Knuckles not really having any strategies and just punching everything, aside from one moment where he gets the idea to drop DK into the ground. Then the battle manages to really sell the dynamic here. Neither of them feel weak or slow, but Donkey Kong feels noticeably stronger while Knuckles feels noticeably faster, and it really works for me. About the biggest issue I have here is the part where DK teleports, and I don't know how he does this given he's meant to be really dumb and much slower than Knuckles. And this does matter because this sequence leads into the second half with DK's big fuck off punch. There's also the minecart segment which uses Knuckles gliding and is pretty fun too, leading to the death where Knuckles tries to punch his way out, but true to the analysis it doesn't really work and he dies. Overall, this whole fight is dripping with character, charm, and some fantastic animation, as well as a good incorporation of the strengths and weaknesses laid out for the two. Donkey Kong is noticeably slower and dumber, but also stronger, while Knuckles is noticeably not too smart himself and focuses too much on punching everything, while also being faster. It's just really well done and pretty fun. I laughed at a good few of the gags here, with some good comedic timing, and aside from one relatively repetitive joke that got a little tight in the end, it was all really good. Though this is probably the worst fake out in the show, given what we saw with Knuckles, even if I like the idea that DK used his fists as tools to dig through the ground. This is a really solid episode. Honestly, I've not got too much to complain about it even. An 8.5 or a 9 out of 10, one of those, I haven't decided yet. It's a cut above the episodes to me for the sole reason that it has some really good character animation, and usage of almost all the characters' unique traits, as opposed to solely their abilities and arsenals, like their actual character traits, which is really cool and I'd love to see more of.
She's obsessive, fast, and can turn herself invisible like any good woman should.
This episode has tits and dick on screen, that's about the most interesting thing. Well okay, it also confirms that Boomstick forgot his pants on the first day too. Yeah, the analysis is nothing special here, I was thoroughly bored. Whereas there's some really bad jokes, Boomstick isn't doing much, it peaks at Boomstick forgetting his pants and ends with Boomstick having a bioluminescent STD. And the animation meanwhile starts with Sonic running from Amy, Amy getting unreasonably angry at the air, and then Ramona seeing her and deciding to throw hands. And like the fight itself is fucking boring, man. Like Amy and Ramona have some neat back and forth at the start, alright, I'm okay with this. Ramona taunting Amy is a fun little moment, and Amy bouncing off the wall is certainly a thing that happens. Them destroying the machines in the background of the area is neat, and I like Ramona's character animation in this bit too. But then we get this really weirdly animated bit of Amy charging in Ramona all stiff, then Ramona has thrown her closed purse at Amy, and the next shot is then Ramona standing still while the bag opens up and eats Amy off screen, because they didn't want to actually animate the money shot of the bit where Amy gets sucked into the bag. They end up in Ramona's head, where Ramona shows off the control of her mental scape described in the analysis by sending in a bunch of clones that do nothing and then not doing anything else. Great control of your mental scape there. We get a really awkwardly rigged scene of Amy running towards the screen, swinging at the air and seeming to spark lightning. The very next shot is something in Ramona's hands exploding to glass that we never see. I'd imagine a hammer, but they didn't actually bother to show the actual hammer getting hit and then exploding. Amy then destroys the bag by hitting it, causing it to very slowly glow with a sound effect before exploding while everyone else remains motionless. Then we get the painfully slow death. Amy spins, then Scott's body flies into a wall, which is, to be fair, pretty funny. We then see the tornado get thrown, it slowly sucked up all these arcade machines. We see them enter the tornado. There's a painfully slow shot of Ramona not doing anything and staring at the ground while things fly past her until she gets clocked. There's a shot of her flying into the tornado. She gets hit by some machines and then gets rapid hit by air. Amy slowly runs up. She jankily jumps up some of the machines without actually being animated. She painfully slowly hits Ramona in the face, causing her to fly out. We never actually see her hit the ground though. She just flies out and there's a sound effect of her hitting the ground. The tornado goes away, we get a slow scene of machines falling, Scott looking at Ramona's body, Amy hits one more arcade machine, and then it flies Ramona and splatters her while Scott fucking watches and Amy just leaves. Like fucking hell, that is painfully slow. With the most impactful bit of Ramona being sent crashing just not animated, and the only upsides being Scott's involvement being morbidly hilarious. Also, why do these Ramona sprites not have her wearing any pants? And why does she never roller skate? Anyway, that was fucking lame. 3 out of 10 for Scott being funny, Night of Flowering Nights because Toho's song, and not being painfully slow in every shot, though I'm not sure how much congratulations one should get for just not fucking up. Metal Sonic vs. Zero gave me one thing, and it was this end screen as Zero Tile is the winner. And sharing traits with Johto vs. Kenshiro and Guts vs. Nightmare, in spite of one of my favorite characters ever winning, it was boring as shit. Like, it's not all bad, because at least unlike those episodes, the analysis of my favorite character here wasn't dreadfully boring and ignorant of the coolest elements of him, or blatantly biased him over his opponent. Like, I enjoyed them talking about Zero because it's Zero, and it's not absolutely dreadful. Though once again, how much can I congratulate you for not fucking up without it just coming off as patronizing and insulting? The fight though is just, it's fucking awful, man. I mean, it's not all bad, but I mean, everything in it is bad in some way. On a visual level, every single shot with these faux 3D weird looking assets looks like dog shit. They are fucking ugly, they clash with the style of the overall animation, they add nothing, and they are jank as fuck. But then whenever they don't do that, we get some of the worst sound design in the show's history. And I genuinely don't think any episode has been as bad as this episode in that regard. Listen to this shit. This is just awful, and it permeates the whole fight. It ruins every single scene with mismatched and mistimed sound effects, obnoxious gong-like sounds, or a complete lack of sound effects. Oh, and the fact that every single voice clip used somehow manages to fail to feel natural at all. You want me to name everything I like in this animation? Here you go. I like Zero spiking the black shield Metal Sonic like a volleyball. This shot of Metal Overlord looking down on Zero is actually pretty cool, as is the following shot of Zero running through the series of ice blasts, running up one shot and jumping into absolute zero. And while I don't think it necessarily makes much sense, the idea of having a character jumping into one form then reverting back to a previous one to gain a different advantage is actually pretty cool. I think that's a great idea and I'd love to see that used more, but obviously there aren't always many examples where you can have a character do that. And the ending taking place in complete silence aside from the ticking of a clock to indicate frozen time is also a neat stylistic choice. But aside from that, it's just a cavalcade of failure. The choreography is fine enough and looks good sometimes, but the sound design is so terrible all the time, the 3D elements all over the episode just look so bad. I can't in good faith say I like this really at all. 4 out of 10? I'm only giving it that because I like a not shit Zero analysis. And some of the small elements of the animation. I don't like this episode, but I can recognize its positives, and really all of that is carried by my bias for Zero. And I guess in a similar regard, Metal Sonic getting a proper analysis instead of just little bitty got Mega Man VS Wily is also a plus.
It's just swords were your thing and guns were mine.
Finders keepers, pal.
What?
I'm going to say something I'm sure most of you won't like. I'm not a fan of Mario vs. Sonic 2018. This is an episode where, while I like a lot of the elements, I can't overall say I'm into it. Let's start with the analysis. It's quite good for the most part. Special mention to the one half-decent cutaway gag for their first episode with cutaway gags, as well as a bit where they go super into detail on Sonic speed, a tangent I quite enjoyed, unlike the one with Mario earlier where they went down in value for no discernible reason to explain that any associated media counts, which I feel like should have been in the intro. Speaking of, Wiz paraphrased his opening from the first Mario vs. Sonic at the start of this one, which personally I really like. The fight, however, I don't like. Let's start with my main issues. Mario's character. Mario is one of the most simple and one-note characters Death Battle's ever used, and somehow they mischaracterize him as this easy-to-anger, aggressive bastard when his entire personality is that he's a really nice person. That's all he's got going on, and how do you fuck that up? Did they base his personality entirely off of game theory? Because that's what the fight would suggest. Fuck, I mean, I know I mentioned Carnage being one note earlier, and he is, but they got him completely spot on for that. Power-ups. Mario used a total of 4 power-ups in this fight. There's a Starman, which is cool, the cat thing, which I think was a pretty neat choice, seeing as that's not one of his more represented ones, the wing cap, which was good, and the double cherry, which leads to my least favorite part of the fight. Sonic meanwhile used a total of 3. A Wisp that gets to do stuff, Hypersonic, which is just a weird choice as it replaces Supersonic despite that being the more iconic form, I know there are people who argue Hypersonic is more powerful, so who cares? But that would just make me wonder if people would have preferred if Goku had, instead of going Super Saiyan and going over Superman, just immediately jumped to Super Saiyan 4. And I say that I wouldn't like that as a massive fan of Super Saiyan 4. Or if Iron Man had just started in the Endo Sim or Godbuster in either of his 2 episodes. Or if Ryu had not gone Evil Ryu but instead gone straight into the power of nothingness in either of his episodes. Or if Alucard had activated level 0 immediately and not bothered with level 1. No, of course not. Having Supersonic show up and do more than he did in the first episode would have been cool. But as it is, the first episode is the most Sonic has ever done with Supersonic in any of his 3 episodes, as basically, it doesn't show up in one of them, it's barely in another, and this one is the only time it gets any sufficient screen time. And also, Sonic uses the bubble shield, which fucks off immediately. Tone. The tone of this fight is just weird. Mixed with Mario's oddly aggressive characterization, the fact that there was quite a deal of bloodshed in this one, especially compared to the first episode's usage only in the death, is kinda weird to me. The whole sequence where the clones of Mario beat up Sonic feels like an edgy New Guns animation made in the early 2000s by an angry Sonic hater who wanted to just fuck the guy up. Hypersonic reduces Mario clones to puddles of blood, which is horrific, and there's also a strangely detailed drawing of a bird's ass. Hey, it might not be the ass, could be worse, could be the cloaca. The overall presentation just feels like a Dorkly skit, with angry Psycho Mario in a bloody battle with Sonic. And finally, Sonic gets bodied all fight. Clearly Mario was super pissed about how badly Luigi got humiliated by Tails, and decided to do the same to Sonic. Sonic lands 3 proper hits all fight with only 1 meaningful one. Doesn't that sound familiar? He throws sand in Mario's eyes, then dishes out 2 meaningless hits, gets 1 good hit in with the Wisp, and then all he does after that is take out some Shadow Clones and wail on Mario when he's immune to damage. Aside from that, Mario lays Sonic out at the start, leaves him out with a cat, gives a horrific beatdown on him, including kicking him in his spin balls and raking his back open. I really need to see that. He then lays him out in the air and then kills him. Fuck Sonic, I guess. The only time Sonic feels like a real competitor is during the Starman vs Hypersonic fight, which to be fair is absolutely the highlight of the battle. Mario gets a really cool delivery of his Let's It Go catchphrase, accompanied by an awesome ascending fight to orbit where they crack the moon, and then we get a pretty funny moment where they react to their powers running out and fall to Earth, leading to a kill that's decent, but elevated so much by Mario's line right before the end, and the mushroom cloud having the eyes commonly seen on mushrooms in the Mario world. The whole ending bit is good, and I like some of the details in the animation, like the umbrella having eyes too. I like Mario tearing off the weird skin suit to be in his overalls. That's a pretty funny sight gag that actually worked for me, and I generally think the voice acting is quite solid. But my major problems with the overall tone of the fight and the fact that Sonic gets so shit on just take away so much from this episode to me. Maybe they mischaracterized Mario so there'd be a part of him getting shit on like Sonic too. Who knows, 6 out of 10 for me. As a 100th episode anniversary, he leaves a lot to be desired, but it's just an episode on his own. It's still not much special. It's not bad, and it is technically in a lot of ways a better episode of the first, but that was season 1. It should be a better episode than that.
So, you're the punk I've heard about.
Wario vs Dedede. A lot of people call this episode a 10 out of 10. I do not. But it does start with Poe and the Incredibles, so... And I do like elements of the analysis. I like that Wiz is the one who seems to be pointing out the strangeness in Wario's kit, while Boomstick is hyping him up instead of the usual Boomstick says the funny because something is weird. It feels more natural for this, and he does that for Dedede's analysis too. Overall, it's fine. Aside from the fart cutaway that's almost as bad as Blake vs Mikasa, maybe worse because this could have been funny or charming if, say, Boomstick acted sad about Wiz not appreciating his device, and that Wiz tried to cheer him up with his own invention that's something stupid like, maybe Wiz gives him a gun that shoots beer and Boomstick's like, yay! And he's actually happy now, instead of Boomstick just using it to fart in Wiz's face. A subversion of expectation would have been better than that fart, especially because we have the fart at the end of the episode anyway. It just would have been nice, have a nice little character moment where there's that still subversion that's charming and all that. As for the fight, it's good, but it's not my favourite thing ever. Credit where it's due though, it's really fun and really charming with a lot of personality. And I love seeing Wario be represented by more than just his Smash moveset. I find the choice to have them start in super forms and then lose them interesting and unique. It's not something I want more of in the future, and I think the idea to have flashbacks to motivate the fight was interesting, though it is a little redundant with the given motivations for the fight that they already have. It doesn't actually add much and it also kills the pacing, but I can respect the unique choices, kinda like how I did with Eggman vs Macho Man. Honestly, having it just be a wrestling match that they get too into fits them really well actually. I don't think I needed to see the jaw-dropping Waddle Dee though, but I guess that's funny, in a morbid way. Aside from that though, The fight is really fun. Like, it incorporates a lot of Wario's wackier abilities and some fun gags overall, including a really big fight, which, alright, I'm fine with this, it's very Wario. Dedede, meanwhile, gets to do some cool stuff with his lesser known powers, but obviously the best part is when they go giant and Wario puns himself up into a fucking kaiju battle. What the fuck, that is stupidly great. And the death is just about the best fart joke in the show, by virtue of being good. The expressions and comedic timing, I just love. And I love that they somehow sold a fart being super impactful by having a Metro Man tier reverb fart in space blowing up the entire planet, leading to Dedede doing this pose. I'm sold, you've done it, good job, yes. I do really like this episode, though I don't have much to say. It's just that it just isn't perfect to me. It feels like it's lacking a bit. It just doesn't click with me like it does with a lot of other people. It's still a 7 though, a very solid 7, but it doesn't have that elevated tier to me. Bonus reviews! So here's a bonus for you, which the title spoils, but also I didn't want to have to put all these characters in the same thumbnail as all the Mario and Sonic ones. The remaining 2 Mega Man episodes. After all, I've reviewed most of them now, with 2 in this episode, and Ultron vs Sigma in the Marvel vs non-DC review. So I might as well cover the Blue Bombers 2 episodes on their own. Let's go.
But hey, sometimes it's worth spending the energy to plow a robo-chick so hard it levels an entire city.
I think it's really sad that of all the episodes in this review on Mario vs Sonic, Knuckles vs Donkey Kong is the only one that I think is better than this one. And I'm aware that might seem strange, but my god, I love this episode. Mostly for sentimental reasons, but I'll talk about the actual positives of the episode itself. Obviously, it's good on its own. The analysis is fun, I like a lot of the jokes, I thoroughly enjoyed myself, delivery from the host was on point, and while the research isn't up to much, I want to make it clear that I don't care about accuracy, because what I may or may not buy and what anyone else may or may not buy for these characters is completely up in the air, and likely not going to match one another. But the animation is just wow. This animation is barely 3 minutes long, but it manages to feel so much longer by including such a massive variety of weapons from Mega Man. So while you know that he's barely exhausted half of his arsenal, it really does feel like he's gone all out in the fight, using all of the essentials, some less essential ones, and switching constantly to try and gain the advantage over Astro. And it doesn't feel super crammed either, as this is not only befitting Mega Man and their conclusion, but also because there's plenty of moments of breathing room. The fight immediately lays the groundwork for the way the dynamic of this battle works. Astro Boy is able to basically no-sell Mega Man's Mega Buster with brute force, while Mega Man has to rely on his special weapons to fight back to any meaningful degree. And the dynamic really works, and then immediately jumps to Astro flying away from the Magnum missiles of maniacal and malicious morally malignant mayhem. In this really great sequence where he flies around, tries to shear and avoid them, which really sells the sheer speed of the character. Mega Man, instead of just standing there, they continues to fire more tracking weaponry at Astro, with Astro getting a great moment to dodge the attacks and charge at Rock. In turn, he decides to fire even more tracking weaponry, but Astro is able to deal with them easier, and finally lands a solid hit in this fight. We get to see Mega Man use the Char Shot in conclusion with the Metal Blaze and Hard Knuckle to fight back. The detail with the Blaze actually getting better into Astro being a nice touch, and the Hard Knuckle being made to seem as if it's actually a really cool weapon for once is just great. Astro uses brute force to try and crush Mega Man with a car, but the atomic fire is able to damage Astro and also play in the Sphere of Heat. We get a great bit where Astro whips out his ass guns, which fittingly baffles Mega Man and leads into him being forced to block, then trying his Metal Blades again. This time, Astro is ready for them, and Mega Man somehow runs out of ammo for the Metal Blade, which, given the Metal Blade is iconic for its absurd amount of ammo, feels like a really odd choice admittedly. But I also see Astro Boy throwing the Metal Blades back at Mega Man as both a reference to, once again, how Metal Man is iconically weak to his own weapon, which, as I've said, like I mentioned that before, it's a pretty common joke to throw around, but also to this rather popular Mega Man vs Quickman animation from 2004. Whether this is a reference or plagiarism is up in the air though. This one also includes Mega Man using the Black Hole Bomb, which Astro managed to briefly outpace the pull-off, which is pretty cool, until he used all 4 limbs and managed to fully outpace it. I also appreciate the music completely stopping for the time stop, that's nice, and we don't really get that nowadays. We then get the Super Adapter, and finally get Mega Man taking the fight to Astro Boy in pure physical brute force, which gives us this cool sequence of the two fighting while gradually ascending into the sky, which leads to Astro deciding to fucking dive bomb with Mega Man so hard it chips away his arm until he's reducing nothing but his Mega Busters again. Putting it all into one final hit as Astro Boy charges at him, leading to a beautiful explosion, and that's it, that's the end. The animation was apparently done in only a few days by the way, and I fucking love it. Every second of this is great to me. And I can't help but point out how this, Donkey Kong vs Knuckles and Wario vs Dedede managed to have the most expressive character work of any episode in this review, and they're also the ones that don't have any dialogue at all. But to top it all off, while in my opinion this episode's quality is as an 8 out of 10, I can't deny that I have a personal attachment to this one. My channel has had several series in its time, but the ones that really got me on my feet were How It Should Have Been, Not Death Battle, and Ruby of Bridge. All of these had to start somewhere, and while Not Death Battle started with a pretty bad premiere episode, and Ruby of Bridge started as a genuine embarrassment, How It Should Have Been Also started as a really bad premiere and a genuine embarrassment, but I like to think that it and all of these series have improved since then. Not Death Battle has started to do both serious episodes and jokes at equal capacity, for a bit of variety and an element of unpredictability. Ruby Abridged began to abridge whole volumes to give it a unique style that merged traditional abridging with the kind of abridging that does whole seasons in a few minutes, similar to my My Hero Academia Abridged series that has kind of stopped. And How It Should Have Been has gotten a far more refined process of jokes and writing, with better sound design and musical choices than just copying the original audio. The first How It Should Have Been was Mega Man vs Astro Boy. This death battle inspired me to start what would be the longest running series on my channel, the first one to put me on the map at all. And while it's definitely just a solid 8 out of 10 in quality, to me, it's a 10. Not because of its quality, but because of that connection I have to it. It's an episode I almost never bring up, but it's also one that has a special place to me, more than most other episodes. And while I wouldn't rank it as one of the best episodes, I would rank it as one of the favourites, in spite of the score, because it inspired me to take the path that led me to this channel as it is now. The one thing I can do any work for in these trying times, and the catalyst for me to express myself, meet so many cool people in this community. And so for that, thanks Mega Man vs Astro Boy, you're a great episode. But also, fuck you for that Industry Next Time trailer shit, that was ass.
Walnut is not gonna win this fight, is he?
He better not.
So somehow Mega Man has my favourite and what I consider the best episode of this entire video that primarily focuses on Mario and Sonic. In fact, aside from the one that has my favourite Mega Man character in it, I don't think the series has a single bad episode, they're all really good. This episode is just really fun. The analysis is overall a great time. Hearing them discuss 5 characters in relative rapid fire pace, dragging over some jokes across different versions like with the Mega Buster, and having this really brisk pace kind of works for me. I like this. They managed to include plenty of jokes that I quite enjoyed, making jokes about how bad the Mother Earth's name is, Boomstick's tirade about the classic timeline has a dour ending and it'll never be fixed. Diet Mega Man is kind of funny, but does lead to one of my issues with the episode I'll bring up later. Boomstick calling Volnut's name dumb and using that to insult Wiz harder, mocking the names from the second timeline as well, Wiz accepting Boomstick's awful joke is a nice bit of friendship, Femians is a thing. And usually I don't bother dressing the music for episodes after they stop using official tracks, but the royalty-free songs used for this episode's analysis are genuinely really good choices that perfectly fit and enhance the vibe. The fight though is just excellent. It's not flawless, it has its problems, but it works for me. For one thing, yes, they didn't live up to the full potential, but considering we've got 5 characters with huge arsenals here, I think that's forgivable, and they still managed to get across the hectic nature of a 5-way battle of Mega Men. And while we do get some noticeably weird shots like X jumping towards a camera and EXE aiming at Star Force, it's all generally solid. We get a fun X vs Classic battle, a Star Force vs EXE battle, we get to have X use the Z-Saber, meaning the Z-Saber has a better record for episodes than its wielder does. There is sort of a weird bit where Volnut seems to teleport. I mean, he's clearly behind X and Mega Man here, keep in mind they're on a road and Mega Man is further to the left of it. But then here he's between them, so he's teleported. Make sure you pay attention to the road if you can't see the problem. But we lead into the 4-way black hole bit, which is probably the best bit in the entire episode because it manages to show off the winner order in a way that isn't immediately apparent. Volnut gets blasted into the black hole and is dead with ease. Mega Man grabs X and struggles to try and survive, but he ends up being killed in the black hole too. X gets completely obliterated but manages to regenerate from his core. Star Force is heavily damaged but not totally fucked like X was. X only comes up better because he can regenerate. And EXE is moderately damaged, but he also can heal up to relatively minimal damage. And I think this really works because of the way it's framed. If you don't know who wins, you can easily interpret EXE as having just been further away from the blast due to where he and Star Force end up afterwards, and you can assume he just survived by not taking most of the hit, as well as X reformatting, immediately making it seem like he got out better than Star Force despite taking more damage from him. The end of the fight is a little weird, with X just shooting the entire Mother Elf out of his Mega Buster, which I absolutely do not recall him ever doing, and it looks fucking stupid. But Star Force possessing X to make up for how damaged his actual body was is cool. And the final clash where Star Force fires a big fuck off laser but EXE defends and fires his own big fuck off laser is neat. Even if I don't get how X's body is destroyed then Star Force's is also destroyed, maybe this is how it works in Star Force's series. It's also kind of funny to have the character actually react to the destruction the battle caused, not gonna lie. So that was a fun episode, and if I had any issue with it, it's that Volnut kinda got a bit too shafted here. They give him a W at the end of the episode where EXE can't fuck with his equipment, which is nice, but then his analysis has the whole bit about Diet Mega Man, which while amusing does sort of make it obvious he's not winning, which I'm not a fan of. Let the stats speak for themselves without just pointing it out. And in the fight, Volnut gets mad disrespect. Guy never does anything. His blasts get no-sold by X, he gets kicked off a building, he gets slammed by a falling EXE and Star Force, and he gets fucked up by the black holes, a side effect of X Starring Classic. And I don't want to hear anything about it's not believable that he could actually hurt anyone here. Star Force does serious damage to EXE, who they established as a universal tier character, while Star Force is nowhere near that. In fact, the gap between EXE and Star Force is probably even bigger than the gap between Volnut and Classic in this episode. Aside from that, though, I really like this episode. It's a solid 9 out of 10, and it would get that 10 if it just didn't give Volnut so much shit. And that was the review. It sure was fun. I'm sure I didn't make many friends by saying I dislike Mario vs Sonic 2, but of course, I mean, if you enjoy it, that's fine. I don't feel like I need to make it clear that opinions are in fact allowed and legal, but given this is YouTube, a friendly reminder that once every few videos is probably good. I hope you all enjoyed. Have a good one, fellas.